Welcome to the show Allowed to Talk. And this is a retake of the show I did yesterday. And I was talking about very cruel people. And I said it was VCP. So 11 of you already viewed it. But I'm going to redo about VCP, very cruel people, and try not to get so angry and say nasty things like I did in the video that I deleted. It had 11 views and it was like 29 minutes long. I'm going to try not to go 29 minutes though in this show and talk nicer and more pleasant about VCP, which is very cruel people. Very cruel person if there's one person in your life like that. First thing about them is they can't apologize. They struggle to. If they do apologize to you, it's because it benefits them, that it's in front of the family or in front of friends to make them look like they're doing everything right. Because very cruel people, most of them are in the DSM-5. It's a book about mental health that psychologists and psychiatrists use. To them, they'd rather die than tell you the truth that they did something wrong. I mentioned that one of my family members that is married into my family, a sister-in-law, is a very cruel person, and I have no contact with her because I can't stand her, and I said that in another video. I know as a Christian woman who loves the Lord and is saved by grace, and I'm forgiven, and God grants me grace and mercy and love. There's just sometimes you have to have boundaries, like I said in the video yesterday. And I said it very ugly, but I'm going to say it nicer today and not be so angry. I can be angry and sin not, as the Bible says. Like Jesus was angry and he called the Pharisees and scribes, hypocrites, and the blind leading the blind, and that John the Baptist said they were a brood of vipers. But we want to try to keep peace as much as possible. And sometimes it's impossible to keep peace, that sometimes you just have to have no contact with certain people in your life. Because when I got riled up about what she did, it was turned around on me that I was a bad person, that I was the one making things up even, which I didn't do. So a very cruel person will do things like I mentioned a friend, Gladys, whose mother-in-law, they would have serious talks, and she told her mother-in-law things about her life and that she really hated the color. I said green, but I think it was purple. But it could have been pink too. I'm not sure. A lot of people hate pink. A lot of people hate certain colors. I like tie-dye, so that's a mixture of a lot of colors, a tie-dye, very colorful shirt. But anyway, back to Gladys. She said her mother-in-law was a VCP, very cruel person. Very cruel people, and she was one of them that would be cruel on purpose. And I didn't believe that as a kid, that there was people who had no empathy or compassion or couldn't learn it. They didn't even learn it. Like you can learn to be more compassionate and actually go through a therapy that you can, after being abused and abused as a kid, or the word I'm trying to think of is like trauma or neglect as a kid. You can go through a therapy that you can nurture yourself, validate yourself, and say you're doing okay, you're a pretty good person, you're a good person, I love you, and talk to yourself. And it's possible to do. But very cruel people, like was saying, Gladys said she told her mother-in-law many times that she hated the color purple, and she didn't like purple in anything: shirts, blouses, slacks, shoes, hats, gloves, a coat. And here it turned around, and when she got a gift from her mother-in-law, it was purple, a purple shirt, a purple sweater, whatever. So that's the kind of person that I deal with, that I have no contact. But I was ready to have contact and just do gray rock, one-word answers, which it's sort of thinking of myself, and maybe you would think that's a narcissistic trait or response, but to save myself from her saying and doing things that she knows would get me upset. What she did was shred my heart like in a cheese shredder, or like a meat grinder, which I talked about when I talked about marriage, divorce, and death. And she just gets off on that. So it's like supply for her to feel better about herself. Like I said in the video last night, and I was mean about it, I'm going to tell you plainly that when we went to her husband's funeral, because her husband is my husband's youngest brother, she told my husband, because I didn't talk to her when we got in the line to talk to her with her son and daughter. Her daughter has 2 sons, and her son that has a girlfriend isn't married yet. My husband guided me away from the line. I don't know if he was protecting me or her, because I still have cognitive dissonance, that I think there was something going on, because either she's a very cruel person, VCP, and although she was very nice to other people and charming, and a lot of my own family said, well, she was so nice to me, so that means what I say is void. They don't give a crap about me. Okay, take a deep breath. Anyway, very cool person. All she would have to do is say, yes, what you said about my babysitter quitting, and agreeing with her husband that she should quit if her husband's jealous about her relationship with my husband's younger brother, which is a very cruel person's husband. I just sided with him and said, if he's that jealous, then she should have quit. I didn't say they had an affair, that they were seeing each other. I just agreed with him because I'm a very jealous person. And she knew that, because for 5 years when we were close friends, she was love bombing, treating me good, emulating me. She was a banker, and then decided to be an elementary education teacher and has her master's now, which I didn't have enough money to finish college. I only went about a year. Funds run out, so all she had to do was say like a few words of, I'm sorry I did that. I was so mad at you. I was, I could, what's that word? My blood was boiling. I was so mad at you. And I just wanted to get you back for saying that because you agreed with my babysitter's husband, which was her husband's good friend, and they worked together at a department store, that I was so angry at you, and I'm sorry. But she can't say that. We went to counseling with our preacher at the time in Pennsylvania, and the last words that were said were, I told her, you did this, 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 and this, which you knew all this would like buy the same bathing suit as I bought and wear it at the pool that we had an above ground pool at our house in Pennsylvania, and she wore the same bathing suit as me. She said inappropriate things. I told her all this, and so the preacher was trying to help us both, of course. It was me, my husband's younger brother, and her, and she had to have the last word of, even if I did those things, it's not my fault. Your marriage is so bad. So she had the last word. She always had to. And she can't apologize. She might die if she apologized. So she's a very cool person, and that's how I'm going to leave it. All the things I told her in the 4 or 5 years that we really were close, that I thought she was even closer and loved me more than my sisters, all the things I told her, she started doing shortly after I gave my opinion about her babysitter having to quit because her babysitter's husband was jealous of the relationship of the very cruel person, VCP's husband, and the girl that used to work with him at the department store that quit to babysit their young daughter that was like 6 to 10 months old when all this was going on. So very cruel person, and you have to keep your boundaries. Be careful who you tell your story to about trauma you've been through, or neglect, or abuse, or anything that you went through, and they will turn it around on you when it could be ended, or it's none of your business. I did the wrong, even though you saw it and it affected you and traumatized you. There's no apologizing, because it's none of your business that happened. I ask God to forgive me, and that's all I need to do. It's true. You don't have to apologize to the person, but it'd be nice if you would. And if you love someone, especially, what they say should be important. Not, oh, you are just crazy, you're having a nervous breakdown. This very cruel person, VCP, isn't really mean. She's so sweet and nice to us. She's so charming and nice and sweet. I don't believe she would do anything like that. And you live with it. And you know you shouldn't have talked to them. And the only one you should talk to is someone who believes you, like my sister Jean did. And just try to live your life and even try to forget what happened or not talk about it with people, or if you feel so bad because your family doesn't believe you or seem to love you because it was more about themselves, like how could you say something when I said something about my oldest brother's wife being a sex addict, and how could you say that in front of our 38-year-old? At the time she was 38, she's probably 40 something now. That she had to learn about her grandma like that. Well, I had to learn about her grandma, about my oldest brother's wife when I was 12, not 38 even, but it was always about them, and you're not doing the right thing. You're not acting like a Christian. You're not doing it right. And that's how a person who thinks the only way to get love is to be like someone who is dependent on them saying good things about you. But no, they let them say whatever they like about you. I'm moving in a week and 4 days, and I'm going to clean as good as I can. But if it's not clean enough for someone that buys your house, which I love her, I love the girl buying her house and her family, but if it's not clean enough, but I did all I could because I'm 65 years old and I'm tired, and they say stuff that's cruel and heartless or say you're lazy, so what? You know you did the best you could. You try your best, and if you screw up, you screw up. You make mistakes. You can be angry and sin not. It's not wrong to have emotions and feelings about things and cry and laugh and dance. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You just have to have your emotions, mindfulness, have your feelings, allow yourself to have those feelings, and react logically, react rationally. I've been through some therapy in my day. And it is complex post-traumatic stress response because, like the scapegoat knows, it's sometimes tied on your back. And there's more than one a lot with things. People that don't want to just let the past in the past and live for the future. But if the past wrecked you, shredded your heart like a cheese shredder thing or grinding it in a meat grinder, it does affect you. It makes you who you are, and you need to heal from that. What if I'd say the past doesn't matter about Jesus coming as a babe and dying, then growing up in at age 30, the ministry, and at age 33 he was crucified for us, and then he defeated death. And what if I'd say that doesn't matter? The past does matter, but you can heal from it and not let it keep you from thriving and just not surviving, and keep you from not living like you're dead because you're so believe you're a piece of nothing because of your past, because you have no self-worth because of your past. Yeah, they're human too, and they make mistakes. Your parents, your family of origin, yourself with your own children, you make mistakes, you do things wrong, and the main thing is you tell your kids, I'm not perfect, I make mistakes too, but I want the best for you, and sometimes I'm going to be tired or hungry or sleepy and grouchy, and I need a bite to eat, so let's talk later. I don't want to talk now, and I made the mistake, and I'm sorry. Or you misunderstood me, and I want to explain to you why I did this, and I'm sorry I did it. I shouldn't have done it that way. And that's what you should be with your kids, honest. Because when they're little kids, they look to you like the only one that really matters to them. And why do teenagers act like they do and rebel? Because they need to part from you and become adults and have families of their own, and that's another whole story. But there are very cruel people in the world, VCPs, and that's what I'm going to call them. But if you want to look in the DSM-5 and look about cluster A's, cluster B's, and cluster C's, there's a lot of people with a personality problem, including myself. I have emotional dysregulation, and I have to learn to regulate my emotions because I wasn't allowed to cry or have I cried. Yeah, I took walks. Yeah, if my sisters or any of them are listening in the family, I took walks up in the woods with the cows, and I sat under trees and under bushes, and I cried my eyes out because my mom would say, "Why are you crying? You have nothing to cry about." Or my sister would say, "Your problems are so small. There's so many people that have real problems in the world." So that's all I'm going to say about that. But there are VCPs. And yeah, we can be very cruel. We're all sinners saved by grace. But there's definitely people that are on a higher level of being cruel and actually getting off on it. So I'm at 15 minutes now, so I'm going to end the show now and hope that you're having a great day and that you're healing from whatever you've been through and that you love yourself enough to know that it doesn't matter what anyone else says about you as long as you're doing the best that you can or trying. Or some days you just might be too tired or just don't feel like it. And feelings are okay. They're not right or wrong. They just are. And sometimes you have to decide to love people and keep peace as much as possible. So I hope you're having a great day. And remember this, just keep dancing.